Monaco, the most anticipated race of the whole season, and for a reason. The narrow streets of Monte Carlo have set the scene for many shock results, as well as maiden wins for the most unlikely of drivers and teams. Let's not forget the carnage, crashes and chaos that is also bound to happen this weekend. This track is a real test for both the drivers and cars, and isn't to be taken lightly by even the most dominant of drivers or teams. Last year alone, we saw much controversy in qualifying from Nico Rosberg. Not the first time a German's taken pole position controversially. Then you've got the legendary story of the late Bianchi's maiden points for both him and for the struggling Marussia team. And with the amount of difficulties Manor have had this year, and all of the controversy and sheer incidents they've created already, as well as from all the other teams that we've seen this season so far, and with all of the mayhem sure to be amplified here in Monte Carlo, we could be in for a very exciting Monte Carlo Grand Prix. So the qualifying has just ended around one of the nicest and most beautiful places in the world, and really we've got to turn our attention to the racing, so let's go and do that. So Q1 started in the picturesque Monaco streets under the gorgeous sunlight, and Q1 certainly matched the quality of the setting. The session started, and within seconds there were two separate spins from Kimi Raikkonen and Daniel Ricciardo. This ended both of their sessions before they had really even started, and so they both didn't set a lap time. The other major drama this session was down to the controversy maker Nico Rosberg. Last year he got away without punishment, but this year was a different story. He was unsighted, but yet allegedly blocked the track illegally, and so is instantly disqualified for his actions, meaning he'll start at the back of the grid for tomorrow's race. All of those incidents meant that the man has damn nearly made it out of Q1 for the first time this year. Merry qualified 17th, and the plucky Brit of Will Stevens qualified 16th, a substantial half a second ahead of his teammate, and impressively only 5/10 behind Hülkenberg and Kvyat in the Red Bull, although Kvyat was on the prime tyres. Q2 was nowhere near as dramatic as Q1, and Q2 ended without any major incidents. The cars eliminated from Q2 were Felipe Nasr in 15th, both McLarens 14th and 13th with Alonso on top of the two, then the other Sauber of Ericsson 12th, and finally Perez in the Force India just missed out on Q3. So finally in Q3, and the pole position shootout ended with a few surprise results. So the top 10 start with Sainz in 10th, then Hülkenberg, Maldonado, Verstappen, Kvyat, Massa, Vettel, Grosjean, who is in a highly impressive third place for the Lotus, and he is even somewhere ahead of his teammate. Bottas lines up in second, which is very impressive considering that the car isn't tailored to a track like this. And then rather unsurprisingly, Lewis Hamilton was able to take pole position very easily once his teammate was out of the way. So with Lewis Hamilton starting in the exact opposite place to his teammate Nico Rosberg, we could be in for a very interesting Monaco Grand Prix, because as we know, anything can happen in F1, and that's certainly the case in Monaco. So here we are on the grid for the 2015 Monaco Grand Prix, one which should be interesting obviously due to some of the weird qualifying results we had with Rosberg being low down and such. But anyway, it's supposed to be a one-stop strategy, starting on the options, pitting onto the primes roughly halfway through the race. So as you can see, the lights are going out, we're behind the Sauber of Felipe Nasr, and the lights are out and away we go. And we're squirreling away from our grid position, but we're still holding 16th place. Daniel Ricciardo's down our left-hand side, but we've made the move going into Saint Devote, and we're in 12th from 16th, and there's yellow flags, so what's going on back there? So let's have a look. As you can see, we're coming down the inside of Alonso, and Alonso's got Ericsson next to him, and he just shoves Ericsson into the wall, and clearly not giving Ericsson enough room, although you could argue we didn't give Alonso enough room as well. But Ericsson and Button are just going mad there. They're burning up their rear tyres, and they end up both getting disqualified for illegal blocking there. But it doesn't matter, because we're going into Mirabeau, the corner before Lowe's hairpin, and we've made the move on Sergio Perez into 10th, and Perez is down our left hand side, and he's trying to go round the inside of us, and that's just not possible. He's caught Stevens up, as well as catching Hulkenberg up, and that means that we're into 9th place. You know, halfway through the first lap. What on earth has happened? So let's just get a replay of the incident here. So we made the move down the inside of Perez into 10th place. And as you can see, Perez just tries to make the move back up the inside of us. And now 2 cars going around Lewis hairpin is barely possible. 3 is completely impossible, as has just been proven. And VJ Malia isn't going to be happy with that. Also, Perez ruining his own race as well as his teammates there. So coming onto the end of lap 1, and we were in 9th, and now we're in 7th. So that's brilliant for the Manor, but really, how on earth did we gain those extra 2 places? So, well, let's just find out right now. So, as you can see, this is the Williams of Valtteri Bottas going into the pits. Now, this is at the end of the first lap. And also, Felipe Massa just behind also does the same thing, and also so does Carlos Sainz. They both, well, all 3 of them rather, all pitting at the end of the first lap, which is really weird. And then you got Valtteri Bottas, this is the end of lap 8. So before most people have done their first stop, Bottas has done his second stop. But as you can see, the Williams guys are tinkering around with the front wing. I don't know why, because it's not damaged. They don't replace the front wing, they're just fiddling around with it, and that's cost Bottas a few seconds there. Maybe making an adjustment, but it didn't look like they were doing that. I don't know, but Bottas felt like he needed it sorted, and so did. As you can see, that means we're in 7th coming on to the start of lap 10. And we got Felipe Massa try to come down our left-hand side around the outside of Saint-Devote, and that didn't work. So as you can see from Felipe Massa's perspective, we tried to fling it to the inside of the corner, and we didn't really move right enough because we didn't leave Massa enough room. And as you can see, coming on to the end of lap 10, start of lap 11, and as you can see, we still got Fernando Alonso directly behind us, but in fact he's not directly behind us in terms of position he is, but in terms of track space he's not directly behind us because he's coming to the pits. A very early stop, but maybe he's trying to pit in early to try and get around Will Stevens that way, because we were holding him up for pretty much the entire race up to this point. But as you can see, a couple of laps later, we have to come into the pits because the tyres are just completely gone. As you can see on the graphic, there's no grip in them, and how on earth are you supposed to take these tyres to about lap 18? I will never know. As you can see, coming into the pits, the Manor guys are waiting there for us, pitting us onto a second set of option tyres, and that's a textbook stop from the Manor guys. You know, they may not get much action, high pressure action in terms of having to perfectly deliver high speed pit stops, but they had to then. And as you can see, look at this train. Now this is Roberto Merri leading this train from about 14th, maybe 13th, 12th place, around there. But as you can see, behind him he's got the Sauber Felipe Nasr. Behind that is Kimi Raikkonen. Behind that is Bottas, who pitted twice and ended up getting caught in this. There's Daniel Ricciardo, who had a poor qualifying, and then also Nico Rosberg, who got disqualified during qualifying. That's why he's down there. Behind Rosberg is Lewis Hamilton in first. So you got 17th and first are right next to each other on track. Behind Hamilton, you got the second place man, Grosjean. Then it's the other Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel. Then it's Daniel Kvyat, and then behind Kvyat, it's Romain Grosjean, the other Lotus. No, Pastor Maldonado, the other Lotus. And then behind Maldonado is Max Verstappen. So Merri's holding up what is about a 10-car train. And considering there's only 17 cars running in this race, Merri was holding up pretty much the entire grid. But I don't know how he didn't get penalties. But as you can see, the engineer just said there how we're faster than the cars directly ahead of us and behind us. And because pretty much everyone else is in the train, that means the Manor of Will Stevens is the fastest moving guy on track. Because we pitted, we got fresher tyres in the car ahead of us and behind us. We're the fastest moving guy on track due to this train. But as you can see, Lewis Hamilton is going to pit obviously for the scheduled pit stop. And that's what really has removed the front runners from this really weird train. I don't see how people didn't get penalties for ignoring blue flags or anything. It was such a weird event. But then a lap later, Roberto Merri comes into the pits with his train, well, apart from Valtteri Bottas, who obviously has already done 2 stops this race. So you got Roberto Merri going into the pits there, you got all the other cars behind him going into the pits. Now let's see what happens here. Obviously the Saubers go pitted later because the pit box is further along. And as you can see, we got the Ferrari and the Mercedes and the Red Bull all leave in front of Roberto Merri, which means Merri has lost his train. Apart from the Sauber Felipe Nasr, he has entirely lost his train. So, you know, that's a shame because it was good for Merri holding up cars for Will Stevens. As you can see, Daniel Ricciardo going very slowly Now that's really weird, because one, why are we lapping a Red Bull? Obviously he was held up by Mary, and two, why is he going so slowly, and now he's trying to make a move, even though he's got blue flags waved in his face. So that was very odd. Daniel Ricciardo not behaving well, obviously not used to being lapped ever since he's joined the Red Bull team, but still very odd. And as you can see, Alonso's now trying to make a move around the outside, going into Santa Vot, and where'd he go? Okay, he goes into the wall. Now we didn't make any contact with him there, he just ran wide and into the wall, which is quite odd there. As you can see on board from Valtteri Bottas's perspective, no contact was made. Maybe the slightest amount of contact, and sure, we didn't leave him, a lot of room, but still, Alonso chipped off of his front wing there. But anyway, coming into the pits for our second and last stop, pitting onto the prime tyres, which really will take us to the end of the race, unless we get involved in some incident or, crash, which is entirely possible around the streets of Monaco. So, we leave the pits in 10th place, I believe this is going to be. I don't see anyone who's near us who could take a place away from us. No, it looks like we've left in 10th place. And as you can see, ahead of us is Daniel Ricciardo, who we need to re-lap, and Carlos Sainz in 9th. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the race, Carlos Sainz pitted in on lap 1 with Massa and Bottas. But now the weird thing is Sainz is the only one of those three who hasn't pitted in since. So we were going about a second a lap faster than him. And as you can see, we got past Daniel Ricciardo, which wasn't the easiest thing to do around Monaco. As you can see, we're still behind Carlos Sainz. Now, as I said, we're going so much faster than him because his tyres are 28 laps old. He hasn't come in since the end of lap 1. And they just won't let us through, which is weird because you'd assume he would just pit again or let us through. And we do shove him into the wall there in Mirabeau. And really, it's an aggressive move, but at the end of the day, he should have let us through. And now Sainz is holding up Mary, believe it or not. And as you can see, Mary's got fed up of Sainz and just shoves him into the wall there. And this ends up screwing over Felipe Massa, who has to swerve out of the way and actually loses his front wing there. And then Sainz and Massa, Massa runs wide going into the back. And Sainz, we'll see what Sainz does right now. So Sainz is still going very slowly, and on the replays glitching out all over the place. Now, Hamilton's going slowly for Sainz, which I don't know why Hamilton's doing that. And then Sainz catches Sebastian Vettel there. And now what's Sainz doing? He's shoved Hamilton into the wall. So the race leader and the person in second place, Hamilton and Vettel, not only have they now swapped places, they've also now had to go into the pits thanks to Carlos Sainz there, which is very odd. And now Mary's holding up another train that I believe is a train with Grosjean, Nasser, and someone else. So what is he doing? Mary, going into the back, just tries to turn in early, and that doesn't really work. And now he's holding up the Red Bull, I believe, of Daniel Ricciardo. And as you can see, there's a Fry who loses their front wing. I believe that's Sebastian Vettel who loses his front wing. And now we'll stay with this shot because the yellow flags are waving, and it's an unsigned incident. Kimi Raikkonen loses his front wing, and Nico Rosberg. So both Ferraris and Rosberg have lost their front wing. Of course, Kimi Raikkonen and Rosberg are way low down due to their low qualifying results. But as you can see, look at all these incidents that happened, lap 31, 32. Now, I wasn't able to see all of them because I just kind of forgot, and this race was so hectic, it was confusing, that all these incidents happened, but clearly there was a major ding-dong going on. And as you can see on the screen, it says we're 8th. Hamilton is in 9th, which means Hamilton has DNF'd this race. I have no idea how he DNF'd, but clearly maybe someone like Sainz or Ricciardo or Mary maybe got in his way and, just caused him to DNF. I have no idea what happened there. But as you can see, we're coming on to the start of lap 33, and we're in 5th. And as you can see, there's Valtteri Bottas leaving the pits. And now we're leading. Well, no, we're not leading, but I'm just so excited, I don't know what to say. Lap 33, and we're in 4th place in a manner, and we don't have any more pit stops to make. So this is a 4th place, which, unless we get overtaken, we're going to keep. And as you can see, I'll pause just to see if we're in Legend AI. And we're in Legend AI, and I'm just wondering how on earth we're 4th. It's not a case of the AI difficulty being easy, it's a case of all sorts of incidents happening, and I just don't believe what's happened at this point in the race. Like, I was pretty much shaking while playing the game, because I was like, how the hell has all this happened? Because most of it has gone in my favour, to be honest. And as you can see, you've got the cars there, Perez, Ericsson and Button. that all DNFs, or no, rather, well, were disqualified at the start of the race, obviously for 2 separate lap 1 incidents. And as you can see, coming on to lap 39, no one got past us. There were Williams just behind us, while Bottas was directly behind us. He must have pitted in again or done some weird pit stop strategy. And as you can see, the race winner is Pastor Maldonado. We weren't able to catch up to the top 3. They shot away. So Maldonado's already crossed the line to win the race. You know, the most unexpected race winner ever. And as you can see, Hulkenberg is in 3rd, and Verstappen was in 3rd for most of it, which means Verstappen has got past Hulkenberg. But that doesn't really matter. Verstappen short 17-year-old getting a podium. What's equally brilliant is the manner which barely made it to a 2015 grid, with Will Stevens, the Brit driving, has finished in 4th here in Monaco. And there's never been a happier guy in 4th place. And as you can see, Verstappen got past Hulkenberg because Hulkenberg had a penalty. So Verstappen, the 17-year-old, not only is he the youngest ever podium, person, he's also the youngest person to score 2nd place. And as you can see, there's some weird results. Rosberg ends up, despite getting disqualified in qualifying, finished 9th. Massa's in 10th. Alonso nearly got points. Vettel ended up having a decent recovery drive despite losing his front wing. Hamilton obviously DNF, which is a shame because he was leading the race for the entirety until Sainz came along and all sorts of other incidents happened. But what a weird race. I just do not know what to say. That was such a weird race, and if this race doesn't deserve a like, a share, a comment, I do not know what race does, frankly. And this race and its really weird results has meant that the tables are now just all over the place. Vettel's caught up to Hamilton. Obviously Vettel would easily have overtaken, but he didn't finish that highly. Raikkonen didn't score any points, he's still in 3rd. Maldonado's now gone from scoring no points at all this season to being in 9th and just behind Rosberg. As you can see on the second half of the drivers' table, Will Stevens leading the second half of the drivers' table, 12 points and finishing 4th. Fantastic for the Manor team and for Will Stevens. He's ahead of Nasser, Button, Perez, Sainz. He's also ahead of Merry, Alonso and Ericsson, who all haven't scored points so far this season. So fantastic for the Manor of Will Stevens. And also another thing to note is how Will Stevens was the highest placed Brit this race. Finishing 4th when Button was disqualified and when Hamilton didn't finish. Will Stevens being the highest placed Brit this race shows on the drivers' table. It's amazing for him. Now, this race has also shook up the constructors' table, with Ferrari scoring hardly any points, but same for Mercedes really, which meant you got teams like Lotus were able to catch up dramatically with Maldonado winning and with Grosjean getting 5th. Means Lotus themselves are now 5th. But Manor in 8th. That is the real story from today's race. Aside from Will Stevens' fantastic 4th place, it's now Manor have now overtaken Sauber and McLaren, which is fantastic for the Manor team, which barely even made it to the 2015 grid. Finally, in my custom created nations table, Finland is still dominating despite them not having that brilliant of a result. Germany is still 2nd, with Russia, Australia and Great Britain just behind. Obviously Great Britain just behind thanks to Will Stevens saving the day for them when Button and Hamilton couldn't quite do it. And Venezuela went from scoring no points to 25 thanks to Maldonado, so really they've gone from being nowhere to being serious contenders and possibly in the battle for 6th. With the only nation that hasn't scored points so far this season being Sweden, with Marcus Ericsson not delivering any points for them. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like, a comment, a share, whatever you want to do, because frankly this has been an amazing race and one of the best races I've ever seen, to be honest, on YouTube, in real life. In general, it's been a fantastic race with some amazing results. So I'll see you guys for the Canadian Grand Prix, which is my favourite track. Can it produce something as exciting as this? I don't know if anything can, but we'll see. So I'll see you then.